that was really hurtful to hear that my then second grader was having an issue with a child saying, I don't believe in Black Lives Matter.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name is Reesa and I'm your host. We are talking to real families about real stories here on The Real Family Eats, where we've got food for thought and thoughtful food. So let's eat. All right, everyone. So my guest today is the lovely Sara. Sara, thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, I'm so excited to hear your story. But first, for everyone who does not know you like I know you, which is really well, can you introduce yourself for me? True story. Mm. True. Okay. Okay. Very cool. So, any of the stuff that our readers might be interested in or might be useful or beneficial, shameless plug, where can we find them? How can we find your book? Tell us more. Mm. Okay. Mm. Okay. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Wonderful. And like Sarah said, we will definitely be linking all of that in our show notes. So make sure to take a peek at those if that's something that resonates with you. So thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that piece of it and sharing, it sounds like your heart with us as well. So thank you. Um, okay, before we get started, because I absolutely want to hear more of your story, and I know, you've got lots of experience, and we're just going to talk just of a snippet of some of that experience today. But before we do that, can you share with us what recipe are you going to teach me today? And why did you pick this one? Okay. Mm, okay. Love it. Okay. Yes. Okay. So with that said, I've ahead of time, so I browned our ground meat and with the garlic, with our eggs. Um, and now it sounds like what do I do after that? I've got my scallions here. Am I mixing that? Do they go separately? Tell me more. Okay. Okay. I have it in a bowl. Yes. Okay. Perfect. Okay, so while I'm mixing this, I'd love to know. So I know today we're going to chat a little bit about the uniqueness that you have in your family, where you've got mixed babies, and kind of some of the challenges that can come up with that, that maybe other families can relate to, or maybe they've experienced themselves. I'd love to hear more about that experience and maybe some of the challenges, as well as some of just the joys that come along with that as well, and mixing cultures. Mm, mm-hmm, mm, 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 Yeah. Hmm. Absolutely. Before we go on, okay, I've got my meat mixed. Am I taking a wrapper? Can you tell me what do I do next? Okay. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Okay. 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 Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll have to try again. My guy split open. But continue. I'd love to hear more while I try to figure out how to perfect my rolling technique. Um, so I heard you mention in there that, part of some of the difficulties is your lens is a little bit different. Your story, even though it is also, mixed baby yourself, it's a different story. It's a different story than their father's. And so I'm curious, what are some of the things that for you folks you sat down and said, hey, this is really important for me to be able to provide a space that they feel seen, that they feel safe. And how are you addressing some of those things? Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm. Mm, mm. Yeah. And gosh, I mean, how have you folks gone about having that conversation with your kids? When you yourself are looking at it and going, I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense in my brain. I wish I could shield this from you. At the same time, acknowledging that much of these behaviors, much of these mindsets are things that we can't physically go into someone's brain and change it and make it better. We can't make their behavior change. So, how do you have that conversation? How have you folks been kind of navigating that really, really tough place to be in? Mm, mm, yeah. Mm, mm, yeah. And gosh, like to watch your kiddo, your heart outside of you kind of have to experience something like that, I imagine is just so difficult. And I'd love to kind of hear more about the real side, kind of what's going on in your brain when things like that happen, because we are here to talk about the real stories, right? At first, I've got a couple that are made. So am I just popping it in the oil? Walk me through this piece right here. I gotta walk. I'm Asian. I have a walk. Thank you. Yes. Okay. 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 Good to know. So I'll pop mine in. And as I do that, I would love to kind of hear a little bit about when those things happen. Kind of, I hear you working really hard to kind of, um, show your kiddos the calm, kind of composed nature of how you want them to be able to respond when these things happen, when they experience these really kind of hurtful experiences. I'd like to know kind of for you as a parent, what's going on in your mind in that moment. Give us the dish on what's really happening behind the scenes for you and kind of how you're navigating that for yourself. Mm, yeah. Mm, Mm. Yeah. I heard you mention kind of, and you pulled out kind of especially at school and the importance in fitting in there, as well as it sounds like, feeling accepted in that. Why call that piece out as something, especially at school? Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I'm curious, like with your journey thus far, in kind of navigating these particular, you know, this particular journey that maybe doesn't look like everybody else's. Is there any piece of it where you were looking at it and thinking, this isn't what I was told it was supposed to look like, or that, I was supposed to be doing right now, that you find kind of trying to come into your head, whether it was from others, from society, from just your own upbringing, that you've found kind of yourself battling with and trying to navigate? Which they are. I'd like to say that. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Mhm. Do you think for you there was like a really big moment that like that aha moment that some of these things started to click for you and maybe your perspective shifted? Okay. Mm. Yeah. Wow. Mm. Yeah. And like you said, kind of almost as all or nothing, and it being kind of more of a character attack versus maybe some grace and some compassion for the fact that these are, kids that are 10 and under that are still learning and experiencing the world and figuring out what their place is in it, what it's like to be in the world, what it's like to have expectations, and be mindful. I mean, gosh, if our 10-year-olds, our 8-year-olds were able to be as mindful as we would want, that, I mean, goodness, there's adults that, I look at and go, I wish you were also practicing more mindfulness. But to have that expectation of these little kiddos and then have it be like an all or nothing definition, I can imagine is just, gosh, so hurtful as the parent who is working really hard to raise good human beings and ones that are celebrated and seen for their awesomeness. So I'm curious, are there any kind of insights or resources or things that if you could go back in time that you would tell yourself to prepare or to share with others that are maybe experiencing similar things? What would you share or give back in those ways? Mm, mm-hmm. Hold on, before you move on, could you actually, for those that don't know what microaggressions are, can you just give us like a little snippet? Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Mm, Mm. Yeah. Yeah. And who makes you the authority, right, to determine the norm for somebody else's unique life and life experiences? Absolutely. And so I did not mean to cut you off. I thought that was super important. I wanted to make sure that our listeners, for those that aren't aware of what microaggressions are, could be a little bit more informed. So thank you for being willing to kind of take a slight detour there. Okay. Mm. So we're working with assumptions there, right? Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Mm. Right. Mm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. And almost sounds like I wonder if, part of that is starting and figuring out kind of what your own biases are first and figuring out, what does that look like in your lens, and then being able to then have that conversation with your kiddos, because I imagine that's a really hard conversation to have if you're not even, your own biases and kind of what's going on based off of your own experiences, your own life, what you've been taught, etc. You're not completely cognizant of, and you're just kind of going through life like you said, because I don't know any different, this is all I've seen, and so I didn't know that this was, you know inappropriate or whatnot. It sounds like could be really beneficial. So, oh no, you're good, go for it, I'd love to hear it. Mm. Okay. Mm. Hmm. Mm. Yeah. I'm great. Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great resource, and I'd love to link it down too. So again, all those things for those folks that are listening, we'll make sure get included in our show notes, because those are great resources to be able to start changing this conversation and hopefully making this place, leaving this place a better world than when we got here, and helping kind of rewrite some of these journeys that our neighbors right next to us or you yourself might be experiencing, and people are unaware because there's not enough conversation about these things. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to have these conversations, to pull back that curtain. So here is my product. Hopefully it does well. Oh goodness. Is this kind of what we're looking for? Did I fold it differently? Yeah, they're like little envelopes. Hey, it's my interpretation of it. Yes. Yeah, and hey, I can just put it in my little pocket. So all that to say, the basic, that's how we are, right? The basic materials of us are fairly similar. At the same time, we all are unique and different, and we're all just as amazing as the next. So that's my spin on it. Well, Well, Sarah, thank you so much for being willing to chat with us today and share a little bit about your story and your experience here on The Real Family Eats. So thank you. If you or anyone that you know is struggling with any of the topics that we discussed in today's episode, make sure to check out our show notes for support and resources. You can get help. Thanks again for joining us on today's episode of The Real Family Eats. If you're a parent ready to share your real life parenting story, make sure to reach out to us in our website found in the show notes. And that goes for today's recipe, social medias, support, and resources. All of that can be found in our show notes. So make sure to check them out. And make sure to follow, like, share, subscribe, and stay up to date on all things The Real Family Eats. I hope you'll join us next time for more food for thought and thoughtful food. Enjoy your eats.